Online platforms give you the easiest access to the gambling world. Whether from your smartphone or computer, the next bet is a click away. Digital gambling. How likely are you to be sucked in? That's our topic on Shift. While some gamble only for fun and bet small amounts, others hope to cash in quickly with the right info. However, many gambling addicts use up all their savings and get into debt. We spoke with gamblers in Kashmir, India. It is like a drug. It affects the human brain in the same way. You don't think about your family, siblings, or even your relatives. You just lose your mind. It is such a big scam. Bilal is one of the young people in the Himalayan region who was tempted to start gambling to make money due to the lack of work opportunities. There is unemployment here, and the situation is also not very helpful, which is why people get easily attracted here. Because in my experience, everyone wants to earn quick money. It's actually a big issue. Gambling is banned and socially stigmatized in the Muslim-majority territory. But Bilal could easily access online gambling and betting with his phone without anyone finding out. When my friends became aware of my habit, they tried to convince me against it. They told me it is not good, but I did not listen to anyone. I saw it only as a means to earn money. I really did not realize that it was such a trap. Bilal's addiction only got worse. Over a few months, he lost nearly 1 million rupees online, about $11,900, mostly of his father's savings. He sold many items to feed his addiction, including his phone. Bilal was eventually able to access counseling and begin recovery. My family supported me a lot. They saw it as a mistake and encouraged me not to get involved again. Even grown-ups make mistakes after all. It is a lesson for me that it should not happen again next time. Health is important. Like Bilal, many young people in the province are struggling with gambling addictions. Experts say the region's poor economic prospects are a contributing factor to the rise in gambling addiction. We have limited public sector employment, and we have a very little or even meagre private sector to accommodate the youth who are highly educated and competent. Gambling is outlawed in most parts of India, but online platforms openly promote it. Platforms use celebrity endorsements and disguise gambling as gaming. India's Ministry of Information and Broadcasting issued advisories against these promotions in 2022. Some lawmakers say a stronger legal framework is needed to curb addiction.
These apps are openly flouting government directives and RBI directives vis-a-vis their working in the country. Celebrities are endorsing this, and unfortunately it's a trap where many youngsters are falling into the trap. It's another addiction that we are currently facing.
And these problems are the same the world over. In Africa too, critics complain about betting providers' ruthless practices and how gambling addicts receive little to no support. In Nigeria, the sports betting industry is thriving.
24-year-old Nigerian Nkechukwu Ikeeze is addicted to betting. He just can't help himself.
I just play the game now. I lose for the game now. I try 700 now. Now I'm losing now. So I want to just think again if I can win again.
During junior secondary school, Nkechukwu was introduced to betting by a friend.
So anytime they give me money for school, me and my guy, once we close from school, we start with 500 in Bet Nigeria.
Despite earning less than $40 a month as a housekeeper, Nkechukwu spends lavishly on betting each week. In just 4 years, he has poured over $1,000 into his betting habit. There were wins, but mostly losses.
My biggest loss is almost 150,000. That day, just like I don't get myself that day. I really don't get myself that day. I was like shocked at what's going on. Like from nowhere, my body starts getting hot. I was like, what's going on with me? Even when my mom was talking to me, I was like, what she was talking to me was not even entering my brain itself. I was like, she was even about like 5 minutes, she noticed my eye was red. She asked me like, why, do you want to cry? I said, no. I said, don't worry, I'll say to myself.
In Nigeria, it's estimated that over 60 million people gamble. Many are young Nigerians seeking to overcome boredom, unemployment, and poverty, and believe that betting is a quick fix solution to their money problems. What they don't know, or more precisely don't want to know, is that the game is fixed and they can never win.
The bookies always win. I say the house never lose because the bookie has taken his own commission anyways. And every time you run at loss, he's smiling to the bank. And a few times when you win, it's just a small portion of you that wins. The rest of chunk of them have lost.
Lagos resident Oladokun Ademola worries about the tactics betting companies in Nigeria use to attract customers. He says these businesses often employ social media influencers to encourage gambling. They present themselves as betting entrepreneurs, claiming to have cracked the code to profitable gambling.
There's a guy called Mayor of Ekiti. He's trending and he has a lot of followers, a lot of people. I mean, the guy supposedly won 100 million naira yesterday. Wow, suddenly. You know? And every time, maybe in a couple of every months, you just hear the guy has won another 200 million somewhere. He has won 55 million somewhere. I'd be like, come on, man. How? Are you the only one? And they tell me, no, the guy knows his thing. He knows his thing. Okay, good, no problem. But I believe the influencers are being used to manipulate the youths.
After leaving the betting shop, Nkechukwu immediately heads home to start betting online using his smartphone. Critics in Nigeria have complained about the predatory practices of betting companies and the lack of support for addicts.
It's like fraud. One day you're told to just try 100,000 naira and you try and you win. Wow, you're happy, you're celebrating. And then a few weeks after, you put all your 1 million naira into it and everything is gone. And your children can no longer go to school, you can't pay your house rent. A lot of men are going through what I'm talking to you about right now.
Sports betting is growing exponentially with over 100 betting companies operating in Nigeria. It may be profitable, but the lack of regulation and taxation has increasing numbers of young people throwing their hard-earned money into a bottomless abyss.
Nevertheless, some people do believe they can turn a profit through online gambling. We met a professional gambler in Indonesia. The moment the cards are dealt is when the adrenaline starts to flow, and that is when, let's call him Radia, clocks in for work. Although it is strictly illegal in Indonesia, playing poker is not just a game for him, it's his job. Radia therefore wants to stay anonymous. He is just one of the many Indonesians trying to earn a living from online gambling. I have really loved gambling all my life. Finally, I'm able to play online, which makes things a lot easier and safer. You don't even have to leave the house in order to play a round of poker. Internet gambling is a growing problem. The Indonesian government says online gambling transactions totaled almost 10.63 billion euros in 2022 alone. But while all forms of gambling are banned in the country, cracking down on online gamblers has turned out to be particularly difficult. New sites are continually appearing, and as almost everyone has a mobile phone and an e-wallet, tracing individual gamblers like Radia is very hard. On good days, he can earn as much as 345 euros from online gambling, which is more than the average monthly income of some Jakarta residents. But there are not always good days. I once played and simply lost around 14,000 euros in one night. Crazy, right? That was the moment when I wanted to quit, and I did, but only for a week, and then I started playing again. The lockdowns during the pandemic caused Radia to spend even more time gambling, but no one can predict who will develop an addiction, this clinical psychologist tells me. Gambling becomes a problem when it can no longer be controlled.
When someone first tries, it creates a feeling of pleasure, and that feeling of pleasure releases dopamine, a hormone that creates feelings of comfort, happiness, and pleasure. That's what finally makes people think, if I want to be happy, then I have to keep playing. It turns into a vicious cycle.
And that's how the brain's processes can closely resemble those in people who are addicted to online games. Around the world, more than 80% of internet users play video games. A systematic review of recent studies found that 5% of gamers suffer from a gaming addiction. To understand what online gaming can do to your body, we need to look at the brain's reward system. This functions to reinforce behaviour which keeps us alive, like eating calorie-rich food. Dopamine plays a crucial role here. A release of dopamine equals reward. So, you want to keep doing what made you feel good. For example, this is your dopamine spike when you're eating food you like. Or when you're having sex. Naturally, the dopamine levels surge briefly, and then return to normal after a while. Studies show that video games can have similar effects on our dopamine levels as taking hard drugs, especially those games that immerse you deeply in the action. When this overstimulation becomes a habit, the dopamine levels drop to a significant low after a long session of intense gaming. So, when exactly do you cross the addiction threshold? Stage 1. You constantly think about when you're next going to play or not. You feel irritated, anxious or sad. Stage 2. Gaming sessions get longer and longer. You are unable to cut it down. Stage 3. You lose interest in other activities and might even lie about your actual screen time. Stage 4. Addiction. You can be said to be addicted once gaming impairs your life and social habits for over a year. At this point, you jeopardize your job, classes or relationships to satisfy your urge to game. But it's not totally bleak, and you are not alone. Ask for help from friends, family, or a psychologist. Gaming addiction can be overcome.